What's up with this flirting in the chat amongst my mods? Like, why do you keep allowing terms, Katie, and then Mike keeps deleting the allowed terms? Is your friend Mike still over? Yeah, he's in the other room. He's has an early flight tomorrow, so he's staying with us. We're pretty close to the airport. I wanted to comment on this post. Did you write this just so Corey would talk about it on stream? I like talking about it. It's fine. Isn't the Reddit post just everyone trashing T-Core? Yeah, which I don't like. But the thing is, like, the most upvoted posts are always pro Corey because just generally Reddit is they like me. And then as you go further down, it becomes all negative. So we'll slowly descend into madness, I think. But how are you guys? What's going on? I've got the Knicks game up here as well, so I'll be kind of keeping a side eye on that. Here it is. How do you guys feel about my hot take that Tyler is going to return to Big Brother? What do you think? Seems reasonable, right? It's going to be like their big surprise, big get. About 1,000 people just figured out they're still together. Guys, I hate. And I understand Twitch is like a public live stream too, but oh, I hate these other platforms. Because it was my responsibility to moderate as well, just because America doesn't have any mods, because she doesn't go live enough, and so that means like I have to be on the lookout for the mean comments, and it just makes me sad, annoys me. The pantomime was incredible. Look, it was a good moment, for sure. TikTok has so many casuals. It's all right being casual. I don't mind that. I don't like assholes. Not being knowledgeable about like which Big Brother couples are still together. That's very reasonable. Probs in a few years since baby's no longer in a new. Yeah, I mean, whenever they invite people back, I assume it won't be too soon. When changed it from IG subs, I knew it would be some rough ones. Yeah, but you have to like rip off the band-aid if you're trying to grow your audience at all and monetize it in a meaningful way. She's, if you notice, posting more TikToks and stuff. Um, you can't be like scared of the public forever. It just doesn't work. Does she have to meet a threshold to have mods? No, I think she just doesn't have people yet. But there's a lot of people she could pick. Seeing people call you Core America. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I guess on the show it just didn't come up enough for like there to be a consensus among casual viewers. Whereas like Tubina, I think was I've never heard that any other way. Rucker is kind of a rough one too. Queen's still getting 300 viewers 2 years after BB is awesome though. Her power, her gravity. We're doing all right here too on Twitch. 217 is the number I see right now. Quinn called them Tuckina. I don't like that. That's too much Tucker. Give Rubina some respect. Are you here to crash out about the draft lottery? I am annoyed the Mavericks got it because I think they should be punished. But I am excited because I do root for AD. I like AD a lot. Especially now that he's an impractical joker. Like, come on. How could I not root for this guy? God, Derek White's so good. Please, the producers knew all your fans were calling you Americory. They didn't correct any of you out of spite. I think a lot of people think like the producers hated me in America. I think they were remarkably indifferent. I think they liked me, and then when my story became a little bit more showman's relevant, they stopped liking me as much. I think I was liked by production. I don't think that's. I think sometimes I'm too negative about it. I think they liked me quite a bit, and they liked me as a character. They liked me in the DR. I think my edit. I feel like everyone says my edit was bad. I don't think my edit was rough at all. Like my edit was understated at the start. I think I was doing more than they were showing. And then in the middle portion of the game, I was literally the main character for about 2-3 weeks. And then the back half of the game, I was kind of being played for a fool the whole time. And I think they showed that, but they also showed like my actual perspective. Like I don't think it was yeah, I don't think I got a bad edit. They showed I was targeting Matt and Jag when the truth is like I was, but it was a little bit more shaky and they could have shown Made me look a little bit dumber. Maybe I didn't say that stuff in the DR, but my edit was fine. The amount of confessionals I got was pretty good for, my role in the season. Does my camera look a little bit delayed? It feels like it's moving a little bit slow, but I might be crazy. You could have won. I think if I won the game, the edit was there. Like, I think they had an edit in case I won. Like, I was very present throughout a lot of the weeks. And frankly, like, this is a flaw, but, like, the strategic voice of me in America was me. America had her moments, obviously, but, like, she was more so the narrator of the showmance, and I was more so the narrator of, like, our side of the Jag and Matt thing. Would you have preferred Amori or Americory? Americory is a lot better. In the house, I thought it was going to be Amori, but it's like spelling is kind of weird. Americory is very unambiguous, which I like. I think on our season, the only people who got like tiny edits for their impact, like Matt's edit was tiny, but that's because Matt is just a really boring TV character. I think Bowie's edit, like, it was pretty fair, like for Bowie's role in the house strategically. I think Felicia could have had a bigger edit for sure. Like, her edit was really understated for the first half of the game, where she played a pretty big role in things. I think Izzy's edit is often, people talk a little too much about how bad the edit was. I don't think it was that bad. I think she got a good amount of screen time. I think the problem was they just gave a lot of her strategic content to Suri. And same thing with Felicia, right? Do you think you'll ever finish watching the season, not for Patreon, just in general? I think I've basically seen it, I think. I feel like I've seen all the episodes at this point. America, I don't think has. I think for, like, it's impossible for their edit to match Izzy's actual impact, like, in the house, but I think Izzy had a reasonable edit. Wasn't that bad in the rewatch, more than I remembered? Yeah, because all I heard when I left the house was like, oh my god, Izzy got no edit, Izzy got no edit. And I'm watching the show, I'm like, Izzy's kind of narrating the professors. Like, that was kind of her thing. Riley got a great edit. Heisem got a big edit at the very least. Red got too big of an edit. Mimi, I think, still got too little of an edit. Like, she was very important to house dynamics, but I do understand why her edit was super understated. Cameron's edit was understandably large. He played a large role in the season. Not to mention, like, he was just nominated and HOH every week. So, like, just, it's gonna happen. And he was a zombie. Like, we're taking the kids to school. That's right. I think Blue's edit was very fair, and I think America's edit kind of sneaks up on you. You kind of look at it and you're like, I feel like America got a really small edit. And then you kind of watch it, and like, she gets a lot of confessionals by the end. Her and Blue are right there next to each other, but it feels like Blue is just on the episodes more. Maybe because Blue's like nominated more often and, like, plays in more vetoes maybe. I guess that's the reason why I'm pretty optimistic about my edit is, like, I played in no competitions. I've got more confessionals than, like, America and Blue and Bowie and just a few less than Matt. And I played in, like, 0 competitions, which is where you stack up most of your confessionals, frankly. So, like, they would always have my opinion on stuff included. That veto bag hated you. I never wanted to be picked, to be honest. Like, except for Otev. Like, towards the later weeks, you always want to play. But in those, like, first 7 weeks, I didn't want to play. I was tired. I didn't need to win. Thanks, Madeline and Shay. I think we're gonna do a subathon soon. By the way, I think I'm kind of down. Card Girl, thank you for the 17 months. I appreciate it. Look, I think I threw way too many HOHs, but the vetoes I threw, I think, were pretty reasonable. Like, Cockadoodle Zoom, I promised Cameron and Jag I'd take them off the block. I couldn't win that, even if I tried my hardest. I actually did try my hardest. I realized I couldn't win, and then I'm like, all right, let's have a go. It'll be easier to convince people I tried if I actually try. Pressure Cooker when America is talking about how she has a crush on you is cute. It was so forced. Not the crush, but, like, The line. You tell her like gave it to her. Your butt won that though. That's true. We get GTA 6 playthrough. No, but I'll play it. Look, I like GTA. It's hard to even think of it as a real game at this point. America's DR from the Nether region, forgetting my name. It's fucked up. At that point, no, we weren't. We didn't talk at that point. We started that week. Save the subathon for after the EU trip and cruise trip. No, I gotta do it before. I gotta get some subs. No one was beating Jag anyways. Yeah, big picture. At least she smiled when she remembered your name. That's one way to look at it, sure. Expedition 33, I'll look into it. Do 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 do. Ow, Jalen Princeton. Think you'll do a ranking of America's DRs? Nah. I feel like America would be very embarrassed by that. I liked your DRs though. What was the Reddit post? It's dissing your fellow friend Z, your 6 points or 5 points member, T-Core. It was, which player would you rather be, T-Core or Cory? And then they list these like qualities about us. I'll show you it very quickly. Honestly, I don't have much of a reason to crash out. Like most people on Reddit, especially, like they like me as an archetype. But like, there's enough comments that pissed me off. Passive at times. Everyone's passive at times. What do you mean? Maybe not Izzy, but everyone's passive at times. If you're not passive at times, you're not doing well. But I get, T-Core was better. As if. How dare you even put that out there? Just had the Chelsea thing. It's like she was much better if she didn't have her fatal flaw of not wanting to win. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, no, I feel you. I think that the difference between us two is like, I think people view T-Core as having a lot more unrealized potential because she was very passive. But I think, and you know how that house is, like, if you're passive, and you'd probably be passive again. It was situational. No, I totally understand the nuance of T-Core's situation. But I watched the season so closely and covered it so closely, and T-Core was just on the block, not campaigning an ounce, like a shred, Joseph. Like, that's just crazy. I think it's so hard for me to even get in that headspace. I think social game it's hard to critique anything, but then she got an HOH and got rid of Tucker. Like, there's just so much. Yeah, look, not to say I haven't made a lot of mistakes, but that's my perspective on it. Good for you, defending your people. The way we can hear screaming in another room, yeah. I've got the game pulled up. I'm glad to see him in the mix. Boom, 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 boom. Like, I don't know, Joseph. Like, do you think you're a better player than T-Core? Because I do. Pretty significantly. And I think Reddit might disagree with that, but I think it's just my philosophy and outlook on the game. Like, I think a prerequisite, like, if T-Core knew the game like Cory, she'd be great. It's just like asking someone to be a different person. You know? The mic. I got it. 1 second. You disagree with that? Yeah, like all the good people talk. It's just, and again, like maybe it's all a sign of just not being familiar with the Big Brother game. But I just think with Big Brother, like when people play long enough, you get a big enough sample size to see how they'd play. Obviously, there's exceptions and twists and a lot of things that can derail someone's game. But Cory got fucked by twists. Who didn't get fucked by twists on BB25? You know, Everyone got their fair share. I might have gotten a little more. I hate being forced to like diss T-Core's game. I don't think T-Core is deserving of that. I think she played a fine, reasonable game, and she had, I guess, win equity, but like again, she was just on the block and didn't campaign. Like, and she knew things were not going well and just didn't campaign. And like she really could have stayed. Like it wasn't that hard of a campaign to run. Um, that's just crazy behavior. And I think that could be said about a lot of people on 26 specifically. At least in the end game. I think earlier everyone was going a little bit harder, but the collection of people at the end was a little bit more passive. I was like the fourth or fifth best player. The only players who I think are like clearly would be ranked better than you is like Chelsea's obviously, and then like at that point like Brooklyn. What do you do with Brooklyn? I don't know. She's just a weird one to evaluate, and like Quinn has like so many things in his toolbox, but it didn't, add up to like a great resume or anything. And then you have someone like Cam, who I think is like the typical example of like the type of game that might get overrated sometimes, where he's just a really nice dude, but when you have zero win equity against like anyone, that's a problem. Brooklyn's better than T-Core and Quinn. Like that's what my instincts say, but it just like I don't have any evidence really. It's just kind of vibes. And I think when she was on the block, she didn't do great, but she didn't do terribly. She did fine. 26 had terrible gameplay. The thing is, think about 25. Like, where was the good gameplay there? I think 25 had a lot more gameplay, but it didn't mean it was better necessarily. Like, who played a good game there? When Jag's your third or fourth best player, it's like, like I'm the fourth best player in my season, third best player. Like, that's a problem. There should be better players. Brooklyn and Chelsea could have run the game. Everyone says that cast was the worst. I think my frustration with 26 was the passiveness of the cast. Not so much like everyone's so dumb. That's ridiculous. I just think there was like less fans on average, and it resulted in like less fight from a lot of people. BB just has weak casts overall, 100%. Compared to Survivor, like they just the nature of their casting, their philosophy is like they're gonna cast people who just don't know what they're doing there. Martins, thank you for the 5 gifted. I appreciate it. How are you doing? Thank God Joseph didn't get gifted a sub. Joseph, you trying to get on a call? You trying to debate? See, from our perspective, Joseph, and there's only so many camera feeds we see. Her campaign was like not that bad. It was just she was up against Cam and Chelsea. It's kind of a rough. But whenever, are you around a computer now? We can go crazy. Only if you want, no pressure. If you just want to lurk, I don't blame you. Okay. I think I have your. I think. Can you like just DM me an email address? I'll send you a link. No BB discourse. I don't think people care about Joseph and I's opinions about this kind of thing. Just do Discord. Yeah, I could just do Discord. Do you want to do that, Joseph? I assume you have Discord, right? Battle of the Game Bots. I don't know if Joseph would consider himself a game bot. Y'all should Omegle. That's what you think? Think that'd be the play? The way that you're achieving something that say begging Quinn for, you're begging Quinn for a. I feel like that can't be a tough thing to accomplish. Do 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 do. They shut down? No way. Not Omegle. Yeah, let's do Discord if you can, Joseph. I don't know where you can send your shit. You can just send it in chat if you want, but people might be annoying. Who was the original GameBot? It's an interesting question. Who's the first little nerdy super fan? Eric, I guess, right? I guess it's Eric. Who do you think for BB26 could be compared other? I don't think I understand the question you're asking me. Let me let me look at it again. Who do you think for BB26 you could be compared to other than T Core? I think Joseph is probably my closest comparison, to be honest. Thanks, Joseph. Why, Mike? Why'd you? All right, I still got it, but um, let me add someone. Add friend. All right, I sent you a friend request. Do 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 do. Yo yo yo. One sec. I gotta fix my output audio because you are coming out of my speakers. Um, it would be. Can you say something now?
Hello.
There he is. You guys hear him? Chat. This is gonna be so interesting. I like the word interesting. How are you, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Well, I was doing well until someone came in chat and started playing devil's advocate.
That's my personality.
All right. So what was the crux of the debate? You're higher on T-Core's game than me.
Yeah, I think I was higher on not just you. I think like the internet as a whole kind of disrespected T-Core when I got out. Now, keep in mind, I did not see a lot of the things like her
Yeah.
not campaigning, things of that nature.
Hmm.
But when I was in there, she was like very astute, very for somebody who had never seen the show before and didn't have the knowledge base you and me had. I
Yeah.
thought that she was very clever in the way she navigated the game.
Hmm.
She was probably the biggest jury threat while I was there. Like
Yeah.
she would have won in a final two pretty much up against anybody, Chelsea included, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And so I just found her a lot more impressive than most people. That was it.
I agree with everything you said. I think the thing that I always view with like in a lot of ways T-Core reminds me of Surrey, where it's like a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
like game strategy stuff is very easy to criticize, but I think there's a certain aura of just like talking to them that is hard to like pick up as a viewer, where like people just talk to T-Core and always felt good about it. And that was with T-Core like
Right.
very rarely giving any information to anybody.
Yeah, no, yeah. And that was like the rhetoric on her when I got out was everyone was just like, why does everybody like this girl? Like she doesn't do anything. She doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
All she does is say mm-hmm or whatever. And they're right. That is like all she did. But she had such a way of doing it that
Yeah.
was like very comforting to most of us in there.
No, yeah, and I think ultimately, like, if you were to say Cory and T Core play 1,000 games of Big Brother, I think you could make a very strong case that she gets a better average placement. Like, I think that's almost impossible to argue against. Like, I don't know how she goes that early ever. I think it's like
Yeah,
getting over that hump of winning is tough when she doesn't have the either the killer instinct seemingly or the competition ability, which I don't have both of those things, but I do think like here's
right.
the thing: she might be able to get some like bozo to take her to the end and lose, you know, because she's like that captivating.
Yeah, I think yeah, like how many times does she get to the end and win? Like I don't necessarily know about all that.
Hmm.
Or like how much killer instinct she has to even make the moves, like get herself there.
Yeah.
but I do think that she had a lot better instincts than most people who like play this game. Like she's
Hmm.
definitely better than 70% of Big Brother players, I would say.
Yeah.
And then to all have like the other tools she has, I think she was a pretty good player overall. I think honestly, a lot of our season was pretty underrated, and then the people who got overrated, I'm just like, why them? Like, why do people think Mackenzie was a great player? Like looking back on it, was like just solely the competitions. Because if you're looking at that, then yeah, she was really good at the comps, but everything else not so great in my opinion.
I mean, I think there was a question posed yesterday of like who's the worst player to get close to winning, and I saw a lot of people answering MJ, and it's like that seems harsh, but the reason why I think it's a fair answer is because she genuinely was really close to winning. Like someone like Big D, he got second, but it wasn't close. Like that didn't matter that he placed really well. Same thing
Right?
with
Yeah,
Bodie Jane.
exactly.
Like MJ really just could have won and didn't, which is kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
but even with like if you were to compare her to like Big D or somebody like that, it's like how lucky n- did Big D get on like the format? Like I don't think he got that lucky. You know, like he just got dragged to the end and was like a total goat for sure. Didn't have any win equity. But
Yeah.
like with MJ, it's like she had to have a bunch of things go right for her to even be there. Like if Rubina doesn't look at her while they're doing the AI comp and is just focused on what Rubina's doing,
Yeah.
Rubina wins that comp and then MJ's out the door. You know, so that was like my thing with her is like there was just a lot of things that had to go right for her.
What I will say, the credit I'll give MJ as opposed to someone like Rubina or even T Core to an extent is like,
MJ is
I
not Cody coded, chat. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I think Cody's one of the most underrated players of all time. Like, there's so many
Cody
people who,
was
yeah,
legitimately good on his original season, but just made one dumb move. Like that's not
yeah,
the same.
and honestly, the reason for him making that move, like, I feel like I'd be able to rationalize myself into making that same decision of like they had the pack to vote for Victoria, and like the worst case scenario is you cut Derek and then lose, you know. So like it's silly obviously, but like MJ's justification for taking Chelsea was just loyalty, right? There wasn't much more to it.
Yeah, I think like it was like a little. I think it was similar to Cody's decision in the sense that I think Cody thought he could beat Derek foolishly because
Yeah.
Cody was like, okay, I'm closer to Christine, I'm closer to Hayden, I'm closer to some of these people. I legitimately think MJ, in her own mind,
Hmm.
did think she could beat Chelsea. Chelsea did a really good job of convincing both the people at the end, Cam included, that they would beat her if they took her to the end. And that's like just
Yeah.
impressive on Chelsea's part.
MJ beats Cam unanimously. I'm pretty sure. Hey Bub is what I've heard. Maybe if Chelsea is like bitter in the moment, but that doesn't sound like Chelsea to me.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea would vote. I don't think Chelsea would have ever voted for Cam. But it's funny because I had dinner with Chelsea and Leah once like
Hmm.
everything was said and done. We like were like hanging out after OTE at like Universal
Yeah.
Studios, and we were just like hanging out. And MJ and Chelsea were both like, "Yeah, Cam sucks," basically. And I was like, "No, he didn't." And I like pointed out to them like all the things he did
Yeah.
that were actually really good. And once I did, they were both like, "Oh yeah, you're right. He really did do that." And he really, I just think that like
Hmm.
Cam he should have done a little bit more of what I did. I did way too much of it, but he really didn't advocate for his own game to where
Sure.
anybody in the house would ever respect it. Um like if he had maybe pointed out the moves that he did himself, and it was so funny talking to Cam after it was all said and done because he was like, "Oh yeah, I would have taken Chelsea to the end,
Yeah.
and I would have pointed out to everybody all the things I did, and then I would have won." And I'm just like, "Well, no, you wouldn't have. like,
Yeah.
there
I
wasn't
mean,
enough time there for
I
you to convince them of any of that." But that's
I think
cute that you think that. Yeah.
there was some stuff with Cam where it was like it felt like, and this is again, I don't expect you to know this because you're not locked in the feeds. Well, actually, I guess you were out of the house,
Tone,
but
Tone
like,
JD, Tone JD. Cam didn't know he was gonna lose. Like, stop that. I talked to him.
um, yeah, that's the thing. Like, first of all, about these final two decisions, people have made the wrong decision the past 3 seasons. So like it is harder than it seems, and like obviously I've never been in that position, neither has Joseph, but like you kind of get lost
Yeah.
in your own head and your own perception of things that it's hard to zoom out and be like, oh, that makes no fucking sense. Because like literally think
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
So MJ surefire beats Cam, takes Chelsea. Jag surefire beats Bowie, takes a huge risk taking Matt, and then Monty very likely beats Turner, takes Taylor. So like I think Monty's makes the most sense because it's probably harder to read that jury. But like you know,
I think like Monty's on paper was not bad. Like if you just look at it, it's like okay, I get why you think taking out Turner is a better move there. Like you get it on paper, was it? No,
yeah.
but I understand your logic train.
It's like I get it, and I do the MJ one. I think has the least logic to it because, and part of why I think Cam was viewed the way he did was, or way he was viewed. Um, I think there was a certain view of like a dude like him that the expectation is he should win all these competitions, and the fact that he only won one veto, which by the way, like a lot of people don't win anything. The fact that he only won one veto, I feel
he
like
got
people.
he got very lucky to win the one he did win. Like
Yeah, but like when you
not
look at
that
the
I care about
stats at the end of the
competitions at
day,
all, but like whatever. Like I would not have like determined my vote on comps ever,
yeah.
even if I was good at them. But like yeah, like that one to me, like he might as well not have won it.
Yes. Well, I think there was just a lot of talk amongst like Chelsea and MJ about like how he wasn't like manly enough because he wasn't winning these competitions and he kept losing and how
Oh,
pathetic he was.
oh,
Where I think it just got to the point where like there was no way for him to garner respect. I think the other problem is like
yeah.
outside of the house, perception of Cam's game was so much higher than inside the house, and the truth is, it was probably somewhere in the middle.
I
Um,
think like outside too, it was very bad. Like anytime I encounter anybody in real life, they're just like, "Oh, Cam, what was that guy doing?" And
but that was
I'm
mostly
always like
after the
defending
season.
Cam to random strangers. Like, okay,
During the season, I think everyone was saying like Cam has this lined up really well, like socially he's doing super well, and he's going to turn it on and start winning comps. By the end, he says he's going to take Chelsea, and you realize there might not have been as much there. Taryn was super high on Cam, but I think it's similar to like Matt from our season. Matt, I think, was a better version, obviously. But like,
yeah.
I just think it's like passively maneuvering through the game, um, being super well liked socially. It's just then convincing people to respect you. It's hard because like part of the reason you got to that point is because people almost look down on you.
Well, I think another part of it too is it's like not only did you get far because people look down upon you, but it's like you did nothing, or not like that Cam did nothing, but like
Yeah,
if you don't make mistakes, then yeah, you're I guess a good player, but then it's like, yeah, but like by doing less, you're inevitably gonna make less mistakes if you're not doing as much as other
yeah.
people.
Well, I think just in general, I don't put much value on placement at all. Like obviously, it's kind of an indicator just because you get a bigger sample size. But like Bowie Jane getting third, Cam getting third means nothing to me if there's no juice there, if there's no win equity there. Which you know, I guess maybe Bowie had win equity against like Felicia, but she never planned on doing that anyway. So I just don't think like
Yeah,
I think people get caught up sometimes. MJ got second. She won all these competitions when she was just so close to being evicted so many times. And then the weird thing about evaluating her specifically is like she won so many comps and you could definitely make the case that that's just a fucking valuable skill to have and would translate into most seasons. Like I think MJ could go on a comp run, every third season and maybe she does
I
get close to the end a lot.
honestly I don't see like a big difference between her and someone like Tucker though, where it's like you would never rank Tucker highly, right? Because yes, while he was good at the comps, it's like that's gonna get him out most of the time, right? Like the Frank Uties of the world, the Tuckers of the world
Mhm.
don't really win that much, and I genuinely don't think there was much of a difference between her and Tucker as far as like skill level goes. I just think that
Are you talking
she
about
won
comps or in
at the
general?
right in general. I don't think there's like much of it. I think if anything, he was probably better strategically. But like I
Nah.
just think that she
I'm not giving
plays
you that.
why I don't think it's that far off. I don't think MJ was
Yeah.
terrible, like
No, I
strategically.
think they're in the
Just
I
quite
think
good.
they're in the same category for sure. Like I think the difference
love to
is,
MJ and
yeah.
everything, but
Mhm.
like at least Tucker wasn't the first week that Angela's HOH wasn't going around being like, oh, I'm targeting Angela, where MJ was. So it's like I think they both had terrible attributes of their strategic game.
So the difference between them is I think Tucker was much better socially in terms of just getting his group together. MJ was kind of floundering for most of it. But MJ, when she had America's veto, used it on herself. Tucker's using it on Angela, throwing himself to AI arenas where he loses. He's out. He's talking about quitting every single week. He's putting himself on the block during T-Core's HOH for no reason. Like MJ, I think Tucker has a better toolbox, like
MJ
a better skill
MJ
set. But
MJ did equally dumb things in my opinion. I don't think like yes, did Tucker volunteer to go on the block? Yes. MJ also did really Big Brother tenant things.
dude, he
Like I
tried to
don't think it's
quit
that far.
like 3 weeks in a row. That's like MJ didn't like that's a
MJ
hard line
MJ
for me.
MJ MJ tried to quit through her gameplay. Like whether or not she was actually saying I want to quit, like she might as well have through the way she was playing sometimes.
Well, I guess what's worse, intentionally quitting or unintentionally quitting? Like here's the thing,
Well, it's like
Tucker
if
and MJ
the
would
well,
bail
it's like
themselves out.
just
Yeah,
okay. Just one last point. Like, if
yeah,
the camera doesn't ring in the very specific way it rings, does Tucker ever want to quit? Like, it's just like very like circumstantial in that way. Like, like was she able to handle certain things about the environment better? I guess.
yeah.
But she also fucking hated it there. And if like this like one nuance of a thing doesn't happen, maybe Tucker never wants to quit, and that's never even a factor.
So I think the funny distinction someone said in the chat, Joseph needs to name the things that made her the same or just as bad. I'm like, okay, her Leah HOH is the most
I
insane thing I've
can.
ever seen,
I can. Yeah.
but I don't want
The
to.
first week. She's literally going the first week that Angela's HOH and is telling everybody while Angela's in power, Angela's just like Ian Terry. We need to get rid of her. While she's the HOH, like that is terrible. Like on every conceivable level.
I agree. I think the difference between Tucker and MJ again is like MJ makes really common terrible Big Brother mistakes. Tucker invents new terrible moves to make. Like no one has done what Tucker's done. Like Tucker thinks outside the box of ways to destroy
I
him and his alliance's position.
I I guess, but like I don't think that like any is like necessarily better or worse. I think they're both equally terrible, honestly.
I think they're in the
And I think
same
you were
tier if
right.
we did a tier list for sure.
Where it was like the week Tucker won HOH, he honestly played that whole week very well, and then the next week just fucking ruins all of it. Where I
Which
don't
week?
think MJ could even have a week like that.
Which week are you talking about? He played well.
I thought the week that he was HOH that he played it very well. I think he was getting MJ under his thumb. He was getting Leah under his thumb. Like
Mm,
he actually was garnering good relationships while he
yeah.
had the Sixth Avenue Alliance. And the next week just fucking was horrible and like ruined it all. And I will not like defend that week, but I don't even think MJ has a gear in her like he had to have such a good week.
I think MJ had the best week of the two of them in Janky Week. I thought she was really good. And I think it's kind of a letdown because then she wins HOH and targets Aaliyah like immediately after. I think the thing about Tucker is like he has that week right.
Tucker sucked, by the way, chat. Tucker was not good at Big Brother. I'm not glazing him. I agree he was bad. I'm just
Mhm.
comparing him to MJ, you idiots.
Yeah, so I hear you, and I think like ultimately I would take like Tucker's stat spread. Like he's so good socially with some people. It's just like I don't think he can do a 90-day season. Like from what we've seen, and whereas MJ like I think the credit I'll always give her is she was probably the second most active player on that cast, maybe third. Like she was trying her ass off, whereas Tucker would fluctuate between like being super like trying to control everything and just wanting to leave. And I think the reliability of MJ in that spot is like at least she'll fight and try to win all the vetoes and use them on herself. Like when we're talking about players like this, those are the margins I care about.
Yeah.
Like think about it. Like
I
Tucker
see
was
it.
safe for like 6 weeks straight, and he threw away like 4 of those safeties. Like during the T-Core week, like what the fuck? Like, why'd he go home? That was crazy. And look,
It was
people. I think he did it because maybe T Core's missed, but he also, that was also just kind of Tucker.
Yeah.
But I think the back to T Core. I guess my thing is like when you talk about jury management, I had great jury management. I would have beaten just about anybody, but I don't think you can even start considering jury management as like a skill when you're out before the final seven. Like at that point, like your obviously good jury management is a problem because everyone knows they have to get rid of Cory or T Core or like I think that's like Cameron in our season. Did he have good jury management? Nah, it was terrible. But like if he gets to the end, he might win against anybody, but it obviously never would have happened.
Cameron from your season?
Look, I think he actually probably wouldn't have won because everyone just didn't like him personally.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
But I just think like okay, Mimi on our season, like she had probably a very good case in front of the jury. Like people liked her, people respected her. But when you go out at final 10, like I don't care. I think I will judge if like your jury management is terrible and you've like ruled yourself out of winning at the final 9 like Felicia did. Like it was just over. But like you know, the jury management piece doesn't really matter to me when you go out that early.
Yeah. I still think T Core is underrated. I think like a lot of players from our season were really good who people don't say are like I thought
Who?
Chemo was actually really good. And people don't really give him a lot of credit, but like he was like pretty close to winning. He was somebody who I would rank better than me as well. I liked his game honestly.
He's a little hard to evaluate. He had so much win equity and was so well set up with that jury, but he also didn't even consider campaigning when he was on the block ever. And he was on the block like 3 times. The only time he campaigned was his speech against you. He had like 4 weeks of being on the block, just standing there doing literally nothing. And you could say like, well, he stayed in most of those spots, I suppose. But like Joseph, I know how much you love the show. Like they didn't campaign at all. It was crazy, like zero. Any one of those three. Rubina was probably the most active, but even then, when she gets
Mm.
to the final four, MJ has the veto. There's a single person to campaign to. It benefits both of you to keep Rubina, MJ and Rubina, and she just nah. I'm gonna not talk to her a single time until I think the day before the eviction. It was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I will say like Ravina was another one who while I was in the house, I thought that she was a lot better than
Yeah,
she
Quinn said the same
was when
thing.
I was out of it. Yeah. I honestly thought she was a pretty solid player when I was in there,
Hmm.
but I assumed that a lot of the things that she did were of her own volition, and it wasn't until I got home that I saw like T Core and Chemo telling her like, "Oh, you need to talk to this person," and that's like what you need to do to like campaign. I thought that was like of her own doing, and didn't realize that until I got home. Um,
Yeah,
but she like whenever you would talk game with her, she had like a good sense of like what she should do. Whether or not she was executing it, like I don't really know.
she
But
was a good liar. I feel like I was never able to tell on the feeds what she actually meant or like who she was actually being loyal to. The three of them especially just like they alternated who was playing the game. It was never two of them at the same time. Which I mean, you know how draining it is being in there. Like I don't want to be too harsh. I certainly got passive in moments. It's just like I think sometimes the culture of the house dictates players' behavior when those players are not that familiar with Big Brother. And in our season, we had like a turbo strategy. It wasn't very impressive, but like because of Suri and Izzy, everyone was forced to play so hard from the start. Where like people like Blue, who never seen the show before, was forced to be a very active player for better or worse. Whereas like on 26, the power structure being like Brooklyn and Chelsea, I guess at the start, kind of the collective, kind of the Pentagon, like it was just a culture where I think the people like Rubina and T-Core um, never got like kicked into high gear early.
I think like um I remember listening to a live feed update when I got back where Taryn kind of describes it I think pretty accurately
Hmm.
where like the people in power like Cedric for instance when he was HOH he didn't really want to make a definitive decision on things. Like he
Yeah.
would look to other people to do those things. So it was like very weird where like almost the people on the outs like Tucker, like Angela, myself had almost more influence solely of the fact that we were the only ones willing to be like, oh, this is what we should do, like, in a given situation.
With that really became obvious in the end game when like Chelsea was the only one. MJ was trying, but like ultimately MJ was in lockstep with Chelsea on everything. But like Chelsea was the only one playing, so like there was no one was spreading information. So like it was very easy for her to basically push whatever her agenda was because there was no counter agenda. Um,
Right,
Whereas
exactly.
on other seasons, like you got two sides and people have to pick between them. There's only one person doing anything. Is the Joseph deep dive? Oh God, we don't got to talk about your game, Joseph. What was your
No,
what was your
nobody.
favorite week of Joseph gameplay?
Oh, mine, definitely week 4 or 5, whichever one Tucker won HOH. I think
Hmm.
is like legitimately good stuff from me. When the weeks beforehand, I made a conscious decision in my head to be like, okay, Tucker fucking hates Quinn.
Yeah,
There's nothing I can do to change this. So the only way to get Tucker to work with him is to shit on Quinn with him, so much so that he doesn't even see Quinn as a threat. And I think that like panned out, to like redirect him towards Chelsea and Brooklyn. I think
hmm,
that's like my favorite week because that's like one of the few times I can remember where I really did have like a very intentional strategy, and
yeah,
you can see it like working in real time. Like I think like that was probably my biggest flaw in the game, was
hmm,
not doing that later, because you just get so mentally exhausted and worn out that
yeah.
you forget those little nuances of like how you're supposed to pitch things to people, how to tailor whatever you want to do for that specific person. I think I did it really well that week.
I think the tricky part about your game was like the person you had the most influence over by far was Tucker, which is impressive because no one could influence Tucker to do anything. And that week especially, I remember he gave like Quinn the deal of like, I'll use the veto on you as long as you don't tell people. And Quinn tells Brooklyn immediately, who's also on the block, which is crazy. And then you have to be like, nah, Tucker, it's still chill. Like, what are you gonna do? The problem is obviously
Yeah.
like I think some of the shit talking might be harsh, but like the way you were talking about Quinn with Tucker, I'm trying to think if that ever even got back to Quinn in the show, and like did that harm y'all's relationship when he obviously gets HOH and puts
No,
you
it
up?
didn't. I don't think it
Yeah, I don't
ever
think it got
got
to
back
him
to him.
because I mean Tucker obviously
No.
agreed, so it's
I
not like he
think
was
I
gonna.
think another thing that I think another thing that wasn't really as shown, because I think a lot of the moments where me and Quinn were very close weren't on feeds for
Hmm.
different reasons. Certain people got protected or whatever. But I think that like a lot of things, the close moments between me and Quinn just weren't on feeds. So I think people thought that our relationship was maybe worse than it like actually was,
Yeah.
where really we were there for each other in a lot of like emotional moments.
Hmm.
But it's like whenever you get eliminated from one of these shows, people are just going to remember the last thing that happened or whatever. So I think people remember it as like worse than it like actually was.
I agree. I mean, look, ultimately, all of y'all needed each other, you, Leah, and Quinn. Uh, which is why like how things worked out is so funny, and like looking back at it, of like how is this the way it all you know panned out, where it's like Leah uses the veto, Quinn puts you up, and I do get the logic. Quinn's explained it to me a few times. It's just like again, maybe that's just credit to T-Core because everyone on the outside's like, why not T-Core? Why not T-Core? Why not T-Core? But she wasn't even like an option in Quinn's head.
Was Joseph shitting on Quinn with Leah supposed to be gameplay or no? I genuinely got annoyed with Quinn in there sometimes. It wasn't all just gameplay, but it's like you get annoyed with a lot of people when you're in there. Like I don't know, like it's very easy on the outside to judge people on their interactions with others. But I don't think I ever crossed the line with any of my shit talk about people. I don't think I ever made it overly personal. Um, and like I don't know. Like I feel like in real life, sometimes your best friends annoy you. Like sometimes the people you're closest to get on your nerves. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
And I promise, y'all's opinions, like Quinn's opinion, is the one that matters. If Quinn's like fuck Joseph, that guy
Yeah, exactly.
sucks. That'd be a different thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which me and Quinn still get along. Quinn loves me.
I
Funny.
think he's live right now. honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just restreaming this.
He encouraged me to go on this stream. I was on his stream originally. He's like, "Oh, you should go talk to Cory."
Okay, Joseph, let's get serious. What was your beef with
Yeah.
me? Let's go on. Let's get deep.
Um, so you heard something from somebody,
Hmm.
and they made it. I feel like seem way worse than it actually was. In all actuality, I think what I said to this person was just that you weren't my cup of tea, like watching on the show, like just from like an entertainment perspective. And I think they took that to mean that I didn't like you as a person, and then
The
just ran with it.
what got communicated to me was you didn't like the shit I was talking about your game. Is that accurate?
I think that probably not because like okay, so you would say things that I just thought were crazy, where like you would say things like, "Oh, if I was in the house, I would have gotten along better with Quinn and Leah." I remember you said something like that, and I was just like, "You might be right, but you don't
Yeah.
know that." Like that's like a crazy thing to just say. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like like it's all very circumstantial. So just things like that where I just felt like as somebody who has been in there before and not being in the house with us, I just felt like you would have takes where I just like didn't understand where you're coming from at all.
I think you were featured more on my life updates than like almost disproportionately. So I feel like for whatever reason you got active on Tuesdays. Like that was like the peak Joseph day. Yeah, I don't remember the exact quote, but I don't think I would have gotten along with Leah very well. I mean, I think Quinn and I probably would have gotten along quite well, but I think I was, and I've told you this too. I would think I was much better suited to BB25 cast, even though that setup was kind of wild. And I think, and you push back against this, I think you would have done quite a bit better on 25 as well, because it was just a little bit more of like a less campy vibe of a house, more like open to like schemers. And I think I'm grateful to not have to deal with the 26 cast. I don't think I would have meshed in well.
Okay, so to chat, by the way, this person, when I asked them, like straight up, what they said to Cory, because honestly, Cory, when you brought this up to me that I said something negative about you, I legitimately could not even think what
Thanks,
I
Jordan.
had
I
said.
appreciate it.
And then when I asked this person, they were like, "Oh no, I didn't say anything." So like I don't even remember the context of like any of this. Like,
Nah,
but it
it was
just
very
created something that I don't even remember.
it really wasn't a big deal at all. I think it's just an interesting concept. Like, because when I was asked to do live feed updates, it's like, okay, obviously it's a weird dynamic because unlike most of these podcasters, I'm gonna meet these people, and I might have a relationship with some of these people. Um, so for a while, especially on stream and stuff, I was kind of being a little bit more neutral, I suppose. But then I was like, damn, what the like? I would listen to myself and be like, this, I got nothing to say. Um, so then I was like, all right, fuck it. Like I've said a lot of shit about Tucker's game, MJ's game, Quinn's game. I talked shit about everyone. And my philosophy has always been, and I'm not saying you think this, if you want to dislike me because the shit I talked about your game, totally get it. Like I'm telling you, I read that Reddit post today about me and T-Core, and while most comments are positive towards me, the ones that are negative infuriate me on a personal level. Because for me, it's not like there's a different version of Cory playing Big Brother. You know what I mean? That's just me playing. So I do take it personally. I think it's just I think it like comes with the territory. You know what I mean? Like I get
Yeah,
it.
and like you would like to think that like you can be like omniscient and as like non-biased as possible, but it's like harder like once you're actually in it.
That's hard. I'm telling. Hey, anyone in chat, you want to go on Big Brother? You'll see. It's here's the thing though. Like it's hard, but then you zoom out, you're not actually doing that much. Like it is just kind of sitting around all day, but the way it wears on you is so hard to describe. It just never ends. Like ever. Um
Yeah,
you forget about the cameras, then they like buzz over to you. You're like, "Oh my god."
yeah. I never really thought about like being on feeds like that much. I like you do like kind of forget after a while.
Oh, I couldn't. I was way too neurotic about all of it. I think the
Joseph,
cool thing
did you
about Big
say
Brother,
you would
though,
ever go back? They're
you go ahead.
never gonna invite me.
Yeah, I feel the same way about myself. You don't say no though. It's a fun experience. I think in 20 years I'll still be talking about it. I just think, especially for the nerd archetype, perhaps, which I think you're a modification of it. I think you're somewhere in between like the nerd archetype and like Turner or McCray. You're somewhere in the middle. Um,
Yeah, I think like my type's never gonna get cast again. I think I ruined it for a lot of archetypes out there.
nah,
I
you're
think
crazy.
that like after I think they did like it with Matt Hoffman was like one of the last times, and then they were like, okay, we'll try it one more time, and now they're just like, oh fuck, we're never doing that again. Like
Yeah.
that's honestly.
My gut is right now they do All Stars 3, the nerd. I think they very oh, you know what's crazy? I think the first person they might call, maybe it's like a Quinn. I think it might be like Ian again. Based on the way they cast, like theoretically, like looking at the rumored Survivor 50 people or like
Yeah,
some of these other shows, like I think they might just go to Ian again. Which would be funny. But I don't think there's exactly like a big I think especially for myself, I have a much larger online audience than a real functional audience in the eyes of CBS Paramount. You know,
yeah.
so I think often
I
you
mean,
guys
there's a lot of
are
people
it's
on this
tough being
chat right now,
objective.
dude. You're
Yeah,
killing it.
nah, I think first I think there's a couple factors. First of all, being in a showman's helps. I'm sure like your interaction like Tubina, it's like being in a showman's helps numerically. I think coming right off the show, but also like I don't know, you just start early. I started right after the show and just kind of stayed the whole time. I think Big Brother casting has gotten a lot better in recent years. I feel like they're casting much more interesting people than like 5 years ago. Well, okay, the diversity initiative has made the show so much better because, and there's like the obvious like equity reasons, but then you look at like the way they would cast. Like look at BB 21. They had like seven conventionally attractive white dudes who contributed nothing different from each other. Now it's almost you're forced to have like a diverse set of people. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's different. It's a different vibe.
Yeah. I thought our cast was pretty good. I actually thought your cast was pretty good too,
Yeah.
even though people don't like the season as much, myself included. I just think it like ran bad, but I think on generally speaking, your cast is pretty entertaining.
I'll always prefer a BB 25 type cast to 26, whereas like y'all were so much more likable, and I really think there's not that many like huge red flags of oh my god like obviously and I like Kenny a lot, but like that's a miss. He was trying to quit immediately, and like there's some other house guests who had some controversial
Yeah,
moments for sure. Go ahead.
but he's one of those two where it's like if I can see why he made the
Oh,
cast,
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like like if you don't know he's gonna quit, then like who were Joseph's BB 25 faves on cast? I actually so I was almost on Big Brother 25.
How close did you get, if you
And
don't mind
I
me asking?
so from what they told me,
Yeah.
how much do I fucking know? But like from what they told me, they were basically like, "Oh, you were on the cast at one point, and then we took you off." Basically, is how they phrased it to me. Like, please don't hate us. And then they called me again for next season. So from their mouths, very close. How actually close, who knows? But like in my head, watching the season, I was like, oh, like it was either Cory or Jag. Like was like my two things. I was like, it's either Cory because like
Hmm.
he's the super fan or whatever, or it's Jag because they're trying to fill some diversity quota, and we're both pretty chill. That was like what my
Yeah.
thinking was. And so the whole season watching you, Cory, I was actually rooting for you most of the time. I
You
was
said
like
that on the
not like
feeds.
bitter Betty.
You were very kind to
Yeah,
me
no,
talking about it on the feeds.
I actually thought you were a pretty good player. I saw you did your ranking not too long ago
Hmm.
of the like top players from the modern era.
Yeah.
And though I would rank some people that you ranked below you above you, I didn't think your ranking in general was bad. I thought it was pretty accurate.
I just think it gets very arbitrary when you get like past the top 7 or 8. Like there's just not enough good players who play Big Brother, frankly, and like some of the good players you don't get their potential because of whatever reason. Uh, but the reason I prefer like 25 is I think most people's, and again this might be an echo chamber because I'm from 25 and I interact with people who enjoy watching me. Um, but like I think people were much more invested in 25 for good, for better or for worse, because there were much more active villains, people to root against, and then as a result, people to root for. And I think the Suri part added this crazy dynamic of like there was that level of people caring for or against. Whereas
Yeah,
26, I think people were just generally having a more pleasant experience with less. And I'm sure you don't feel this because like it's people are always insane no matter what. But it was a little bit more of like people were like, okay, this is a great season. Not too many notes.
yeah. It's weird when you're in the moment and you're there and you know it's a good season. That is like a very funny and like eerie feeling. Because part of you is like, oh, this is really fun and entertaining, and
Yep.
then but like going into the game, I really wanted to be on a very boring season, because I felt like that would be like much easier to navigate.
I will say they nailed the episodes on your season. They edited the episodes, and I think part of it was because the strategy was slightly. It was easier to follow, right? There wasn't as much like back and forth. Like you usually would be like, okay, once T Core starts wanting to flip the vote, it's a linear till the vote. But I think like when you watch 25's episodes versus 26's episodes, it's like watching two different shows.
Yeah,
Like
I haven't
26
watched
was good.
26 at
It was
all
good.
as far as the episodes at least. Maybe
Well,
just like
so
I think I watched the first two.
26 had so many like bits. Like they beat the charcuterie thing to death. Like the Crazy Eyes, they beat it to death. It was
Really?
on like 9 different episodes. The Janky Week, like it was. I think see, I'm trying not to be condescending, but it was just so much like simpler the narratives they would show. Whereas like Big Bro 25 was also like oversimplified, but like usually in order to do that, they just had to lie about what was happening and just give one version of the story. Whereas 26, like
Mhm.
I think they told basically the genuine story, albeit a simplified version of it. But you should watch it. It was good, and I think you're really good in DR. Uh, what pissed me off about the DRs your season? I think Leah had the potential to be
What's that?
so good in the DR, just if she was like allowed to be herself, but like she was certainly being fed lines. And
I remember when I first heard my like goodbye message from her. It was like
mhm,
my first time obviously hearing her in the DR.
yeah,
And then I just remember thinking to myself, who the fuck is this? Like I just felt like I was like, I don't even know who this person is. It just felt like so foreign from how
yeah,
like she actually talks or whatever. And like I kind of feel the same way about like MJ, where like when I got off the show, everyone's just like, oh, she was like boring or like whatever. Where I
mhm.
felt like MJ was like really goofy and funny in the house, and like
Oh,
I feel
I
like
don't
they
think she was
did
boring at
expose a lot of
all.
sides to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
she was
I
great.
thought MJ was like a top 3 or 4 player in terms of like I enjoyed watching on the feeds because she was always doing something. Like was always doing something, and how successful it was doesn't really matter. But um, my last question because I have to get offline, watch the end of this Knicks game.
Mhm.
Um, AI Arena, if you could design it for a 27, how would it work, or do you not want it at all?
I wouldn't say I don't want it at all. I feel like it's got to be shorter. I feel like maybe just the first five evictions.
I agree.
I do think inherently it is a good twist, and I think it made our season better. Just the different machinations of things you have to talk through,
Hmm.
and like you have to talk to somebody about the 33% chance that's going to be these two combos of people. That's never going to fucking happen, but you
Yeah.
got to talk it out. And I just think it makes things more interesting. It makes the Thursday show better. The My only fear with it is that it'll end up devolving into something that people don't like because it's just something that the comp beasts end up gaming.
Yeah, I think like honestly, the good part about it is obviously it introduces uncertainty. onto the live eviction nights when there's usually none of that. And they would never do this because I think casual viewers would not like it. But if they just made like literally AI Arena a dice roll of who stays, like who's safe, or like just some variation of a crapshoot, or at the very least, like no physical component. Like even the big ass puzzle pieces is a legitimate physical component that's gonna like disadvantage Angela,
Mm-hmm.
or someone else. So
Right.
like I think as long as they make the AI arena competitions like a certain way, it could be a very functional twist. I just like we would
I
never have
think
gotten rid
in
of
the
Jag, Hammer,
end,
and Heisem. We couldn't do it.
I think in the
just dip. Well, there he goes. I think his power crapped out. He doesn't even look like he's online anymore. It's all right. We could end there, Joseph, if you're in chat. You can jump back on if you want, but I'm gonna get off in like a minute, anyways. I promise I didn't boot him out. That was him just dipping. Weather's bad here in Florida. Gotcha. But that'll do it, y'all. Fun chat with Joseph. We disagree on a lot, and it's fine. I just prefer Big Brother players who know the show and care about the show and actually have commentary. I don't think there's that many players from Big Brother 26 or 24, 25, any of these seasons that could have a meaningful conversation about any of this with me. So I appreciate that. Next stream, we'll talk about this Reddit post because I want to go into it. It's talking about me. Come on. You guys know how I am. So we'll talk about that next stream. It should be tomorrow. I'm trying to go live every day because obviously I'm not going to be able to go live for quite a bit. Or like when I'm doing these traveling, it's going to stifle the streams quite a bit. Talk to Chelsea next time. Well, even Chelsea, like who obviously I think is a masterful player. I don't think she views Big Brother the same way, right? She's not as like nerdy about it and has as much context about like recent years. Like she could basically talk about 26, which is interesting for sure. And in general, I'd like to chat with Chelsea, but can you do more Big D attempts? Yeah, I should. Will the new video be on the Patreon tomorrow? Yeah, it'll be the podcast. She also won. Yeah, that's another thing. I think when you win, like, you could choose two paths. I think the way I would be, like, if I won, I'd be much more comfortable with people calling out my flaws because it's like, who the fuck cares? You know what I mean? Like, I won. Shit. You're right. I did screw that up. Then you throw the money in the air. I think the other way you can take it is, like, you could be very hindsight biased, which I actually never watched Chelsea's Deep Dive of Terran, but she strikes me as someone who would, like, be willing to accept her faults and everything. If I had to guess, the next season will start July 10th. Would be my guess. Is my guess, but you know, give or take a week from that date. You'd know you're on it. Is that the vibe you guys are getting? I'm on BB27. You should talk to Joseph from BB24 sometime. I gotta do that offline. I got some questions. Wolves or Warriors? Wolves, unfortunately. That America slip up earlier. What'd you say? When we play again? I was like, damn. Okay, I'm gonna get offline. I appreciate you guys. Is Quinn live? Let me thank you, Clayton, as well for the tier 1. I appreciate you. All right. It's already on Reddit. I don't even know what we're talking about.